Pete Works here, coming to you once again with One Piece chapter 1120 entitled Atlas. Woo boy, my co-host Zach on the Roll Skull podcast and I were absolutely correct. I recently made a video about this like a week before this chapter came out. Go watch that, but bruh, we were right. We have been saying for the longest, and I'm so sorry, Zach. I know she was your favorite. Atlas is dead. Atlas is the last Vegapunk to die in this arc. Yeah, no, it's true. I think she'll be the last one because she had a magnificent send-off, but it's kind of obvious. At least it's been obvious to me. I think Zach as well, though. It's been a obvious thing for a long time because how the story was going was that she didn't get a whole lot of screen time. She only had a bit of a personality in the opening of Egghead. She was the first one to be attacked too, which is interesting. The first one to be attacked is the last one to go. I find that funny. But yeah, I knew that this was going to come eventually. Zach and I have been saying this for a while now, so it makes sense that it ends for her here. But what's super interesting about this is that in this chapter, it kind of proves something that I've been saying for a minute. York and Lilith don't seem to be cyborgs, at least not in the same fashion that, like, say, Shaka or Atlas were, or Vegapunk himself, because when Atlas knocks Lilith out so York can't detect her signal, she just like flips a little switch. It looks like it's on her headphones. So I don't know if the headphones are built into her head. And if so, that's like the only robotic thing about her, which is super weird. And I wonder why that is. Because York is the same way. She doesn't have any obvious cybernetic bits on her, which I always found super interesting. But to continue with the chapter opens with a cover story continuation, and Danjiro has captured the kids who are throwing rocks at Yamato in a net. We didn't learn nothing from Kaido, did we? The factories are still up. You have children in a net for misbehaving. Oh boy. But her journey is continuing, and Danjiro has become the daimyo of Kibi. So that's cool. That's cool. All the old boys are getting new positions. I like that because, yeah, you would need daimyos of each district now, because I believe when Kaido was reigning over Wano, he was just the grand ruler of the whole thing, and all the previous leaders had been killed during, I think, when Yamato was a child, if I recall, because they were all in the cave with her. So yeah, it makes sense that they will be replaced now since Wano is in peacetime. Perfect sense. So in the chapter proper, we flash back to 26 years ago. I don't know if this is a flashback that Vegapunk is retelling over the broadcast, or it's just his thoughts on the matter. And if so, from whose perspective is this from? I guess it's from Punk Records' perspective, because Vegapunk's brain is still alive and well. So yeah, I don't know if he's telling us this or we're just seeing this from Punk Records' perspective. So in the flashback, we have Clover talking to Vegapunk and asking him to assist in his research. This is at Punk Hazard, when Punk Hazard was still the research facility that Vegapunk and Caesar Clan were working out of. Clover is younger here because he still has some black in his hair. So I'm guessing he's about middle-aged here, because we've seen him as his youngest as a swashbuckling pirate. So this is sometime after that. We also see that Vegapunk has dragons at this point. I don't know if this is Red 13, just younger, but yeah, that's weird. I don't know if this is Red 13 or like the Cow Dragon, but it doesn't have the spots like the Cow Dragon does. Or this could be a completely new dragon. Maybe this one got murked during the clash between Kuzan and Akainu. Or it could have got murked in the explosion that happened on Punk Hazard. Don't know. But it's interesting that we're seeing him with dragons at this point. I think this is further flexing the importance of dragons to the story of One Piece. And I think as we go forward, we're going to see how dragons are important. I made a video on how I think Monkey D. Dragon actually has a dragon fruit model dragon, but we'll talk about that again at another time because I have some more to say about that. But continuing on, yeah, Clover is just begging Vegapunk to assist him in his research because the research on the past needs experts from all fields. And here we find out that Clover and his older brother were of the D clan because Clover's real name is Clayamon D. Clover. I looked it up. Cleomore, or however you pronounce it, is Claymore, like the sword. So his name is basically Claymore D. Clover. I wonder if that's going to be the official name for him or the official spelling. Don't know. It may stay like this because it seems kind of fancy. So it's specific. So it may stay like this, but it does be Claymore. And with this being the case, I do wonder if his older brother is the father of Nico Olive. We still don't know who the father of Nico Robin is, but I could believe it, seeing as how Clover himself changed his name so he wouldn't be found out as a D. And we have last name changing happening beforehand in the story with Ace, because he went by his mother's name, Portgas, not his father's name, Goldie Roger. We also find out, we'll talk about this when we get to the end of the chapter, but we also find out now, thanks to Vegapunk's message, the world now knows that Goldie Roger's name is Gold D. Roger. Not Gold Roger, but Gold D. Roger, which is important for the world to know because we knew that as readers, but the world at large did not know. So that's going to start to put some things into perspective for people around the world when they encounter people with the initial D. At least that's what I think. So it's a little repetitive because we have the audience know, but it's better that this gets established to the world for, I guess, other plots moving forward. Vegapunk refuses to help Clover. We flash to 22 years ago, so we're moving a little forward in the future. And of course, that's when O'Hara gets blown up. Caesar Clown is elated by this, which, well, it's Caesar Clown. What do you expect? And this takes us to when Vegapunk visited O'Hara. He sees Nico Robin's bounty poster, and that's when, of course, the Giants start to recover the books and move them to Elbaf. Flashing to the future now, which is the present, Vegapunk says something very poignant. History is written by the victors, which is true, and the words of the losers fall into the deep depths of the ocean, and it takes the oppressed to carry the message of those losers on their backs and endure. Very true, very hauntingly true for our real world. While he say this, we get a flash to Tequila Wolf, which is an interesting place to go because no one we know is there currently. We also see Zeph and Patty, love to see them. But then we see Robin reacting to this because now, of course, she's reflecting on O'Hara again. But it's really interesting that we flash to Tequila Wolf and then we show Robin, because as you know, Robin was sent to Tequila Wolf for some reason, which is really weird when you think about it, that Kuba sent her to this big prison. And I think it's the second most known prison in One Piece, because of course the first is Impel Down, but it's weird that he sent her there. Maybe he knew that the Revolutionary Army was planning a breakout at Tequila Wolf around that time. Maybe he knew that. I don't know. But yeah, that's weird. That's weird. Flashing back to the top of Egghead Island, the Straw Hats are still trying to shove off, but Nesjiro presents a problem. I talked about this in that video in which I said Alice is going to die. I knew that Nesjiro had to be taken care of because, like I said, he could apparently moonwalk. That's what it seems like he's doing. And of course, since he has cryokinesis, he could just freeze the ocean. So yeah, he was a big threat. And from the looks of it, Marcus Mars is just gone. And Lilith tells us that, yeah, the old Centaur is a problem. If he interrupts the Straw Hats' descent, even by a little bit, is going to be a problem, and they're not going to make it. What's interesting about this point in the chapter as well is that we don't flash to Stussy at any one point. So much like how Robin was a stowaway at the end of the Alabasta arc, I think Stussy is going to be a stowaway on the ship. She has more opportunities to escape than Robin because, of course, she has bat powers and presumably she can turn into a full vampire bat like the animal, like I've talked about in other videos before. But yeah, I think either way she's going to find herself on the Straw Hats ship at some point at the end of this arc. But moving back to Lilith, we get this very telling shot of where Oda's mind is as Lilith is about to be attacked by Atlas, because goodness, that back shot of Lilith is crazy. I'm sorry. The anime is no better though. They have been milking Lilith alive. That's why I knew too that she wasn't going to die, because her and York are very marketable. I mean, they're the most marketable out of all of them. And that's crazy, bruh. I think you're going to be seeing Lilith for a long, long time now. Nah, these two are our last two. But yeah, Atlas knocks Lilith out. Gorgeous panel, by the way. Love it. Everyone reacts and thinks like, why did she do that? But she does it because now York can't pick up Lilith's signal. And from the looks of it, it does look like she's touching her headphones, or maybe there's a switch at the nape of her neck. I don't know. But yeah, again, it's weird that her and York seem fully biological up to this point here. So it's going to be strange that that's the only like robot part that she has in her body. This thing that allows her brain, I guess, to link up with the other Vegapucks. Strange. And I guess by extension, linking up with Puck Records, because they explained that earlier on in the arc. But I thought it was a brain fruit thing, but apparently not. The brain fruit is only localized to Vegapuck's brain, and I guess the braids of the other satellites are similar enough to where they can interact with Puck Records, which is Vegapuck Stella's brain. I don't know how that goes. They explained it, but they didn't go into great detail about it. So I'm going to just say there's some sort of machinery that they all have. But the point of what I'm saying about Lilith and York is that that's the only cybernetic thing they seem to have as a whole. We don't know how the whole poop and food transfer worked with York, but I guess in the future more will come out about that. And I did a video about York as well, where I think she'll go after all this, because one interesting thing about this as the story moves forward in this chapter, we see that now York is completely unattended, and Caribou, Van Augur, and Catherine and Devon have not left the island yet. So that's just some food for thought. I don't know. Go watch that video. I think she's a future Blackbeard pirate. I don't know, man. It's very interesting. But to move forward now, Alice says, I'll leave her in your hands. Take off. I'll make sure you make it in one piece. She said the name of the show. She said the name. She said the name. Clap. But yeah, that's when York finds out that Lilith is offline, so she assumes she's dead, which makes you think, like, how does she not know that Vegapucks could just sever their connections to each other? Because she did the same thing. That's why no one knew of her plans. This could be an oversight, or maybe based on how she's observed the other Vegapucks, they never turn off their connections. So I guess from her perspective, if she's seeing that Vegapuck connections are going down, that must mean that they are deceased, because they've never turned off their connections before. Maybe that's why. Because I'm trying to look at it in a way that she would look at it. Seeing as how all of them are extremely loyal to Vegapuck Stella, except for her. So yeah, it makes sense from her perspective if you're looking at it like that. Like, seeing as how everyone's loyal, no one would do what I've done. At least that's what I'm getting from this. And that's when Atlas charges Nasjiro, and Jinbei takes his position as helmsman, which, my goodness, he's doing something. Holy cow. Jinbei's acting as helmsman, which I don't know how useful that is when a coup de verse is going on, because we never need a dedicated helmsman for a successful coup de verse before. I'm just saying. It's weird. It's always been weird with him. But yeah, Atlas charges the Zuro. Brook initiates the coup de verse, and in Atlas charging the Zuro, she gets her arm lobbed off. And this is kind of what I'm saying too. When she gets her arm lobbed off, we see that there is no blood. There's just like sparks of electricity coming out. So she was a robot. I wonder how much of her is biological, because the arm is completely robotic, because there's nothing here. It's just electricity pouring out. And yeah, she is strong enough with her boots and her jackpack to push the Zero back, which is impressive. It shows you that they aren't immovable, which is interesting within itself. Coup de burst goes off, and the Straw Hats are gone. Flashing forward back to the coast, we see that Vegapuck is still talking about the message as the Marines are reacting to all these large kaiju battles happening on the coast of Egghead Island, which is fun within itself. So have Luffy reacting to the giant robot for the first time. The giants are reacting to the robot as well, calling him an Iron Giant. Check out that movie, by the way. It's a good movie, The Iron Giant. Very cool. And here we have something quite familiar, actually. Emeth, the giant robot, is starting to talk to Luffy using the voice of all things. And we find that Emmett has a sense of humor because when he calls Luffy Joy Boy, Luffy doesn't recognize it. And Emmett is like, hey, over here, I'm talking to you. Your enemy is my enemy, and I will protect you. I'm glad you're here. And that's when Luffy reacts and says, oh, you can talk. That's cool. But later on, we find out that the giants could not hear what Emmett was saying. Therefore, yeah, this is a confirmation that this was the voice of all things. So what's interesting about this is that so far, the voice of all things has only been applied to living creatures like Zunisha and the Sea Kings. So this is the first time the voice of all things has been put into a seemingly inanimate object or an automaton. Though, with that being said, I guess it's a bit muddled, especially looking at some of the Vegapucks, for example, what being alive really is. Because, for example, Vegapuck Edison and Vegapuck Pythagoras were mostly robotic and yet were alive at the same time. So I guess in that case, the same can be said for Emmett here, because he too, even though he's a robot, he reacted to a biological sounding that was caused by Luffy entering Gear 5th, the drums of liberation, which is Luffy's heartbeat. So I don't know. I guess Emmett could be alive in a off-brand kind of way. Luffy lets the giants then know that the Iron Giant Emmett is friendly, and here's where we find out that they couldn't hear him speaking. A baby bluegrass, which is funny for how long Bonnie's effects last, which makes me think, I guess Doll and Bluegrass don't have strong enough hockey to break out of the bindings caused by the AJ fruit. Like how Law back at the start of Egghead broke out of the afflictions caused by the Six-Egg fruit. So that's interesting. That's interesting. I wonder how strong do you have to be? Because the quality of Vice Admirals fluctuates wildly. Because too, we see like Red King couldn't stand up to Frankie. So yeah, no, the strength is all over the board when it comes to Vice Admirals. Vegapunk continues to talk about how history should be scrutinized from both sides, which is also very true. We have a beautiful panel of Emmett looking like he's about to fire a rocket punch, because we have a ka-ching sound as he's assuming a similar pose to how Frankie performs Weapons Left, and he's about to do this on Jupiter. However, despite Sanji and Frankie being enamored by the possibility of this happening, Emmett is too old and rusted that it doesn't work. And Emmett actually says, uh-oh. That is so funny. I love that Emmett has so much personality. That's so stupid. And then Luffy, Frankie, and Sanji all react like, oh no, it didn't work. Watch out, robot. And Jupiter goes in and bites off Em's arm. You hate to see it. So, yeah, that makes me think, are Jupiter's teeth tougher than Warcree's entire body? Because Emmett was able to punch through Warcree's horde, but Jupiter is able to bite through Emmett's arm. That's interesting. That's interesting. Moving forward, though, I believe this is Saturn saying the last 900 years have rendered Emmett's weapons inoperable, which makes sense. He's all rusted and busted. He gives the command to Peter to crush them where they stand. And now Saturn is also saying we need to end this transmission once and for all. It looks like from the effect of the art here, Saturn moonwalks off the back of Jupiter. Excellent teamwork here. It dives onto the giant ship. And from this perspective, it's really weird, and it gave me a really brisk reminder. Yes, Saturn is not that big. He is the smallest of the 5 elders, which is a weird thing to think about because, yeah, he's able to sit on the front of the giant ship and just perch on it. But yeah, first, it's a giant ship, and we've only seen him in the perspective of characters way smaller than giants. So it would make sense that he's this small in comparison to the entirety of the vessel. It's just weird to see. And yeah, from the shots we've been seeing from the latter half of this arc, Warcree and Jupiter are all significantly bigger than the giants themselves. So yeah, this is all very interesting when you take things into perspective like this. But as he perches on the front of the giant ship, we see the Sunny is making its land into the ocean. And as it does, we get a flash to Atlas and Jupiter. And zuro says, "You mean to make a grand sacrifice of yourself?" And Atlas, in a very cool fashion, says, "Nah, I'm just lending a hand." And she blows herself up. She self-destructs, catching zuro up in the explosion. And it's a big one too, because the Sunny is already miles away from the lava phase, and you can see this just erupting behind them as the Sunny makes ocean fall. And it's an immaculate panel, very well drawn. But yeah, no, she is gone. It's crazy. And this is when, as we see the Sunny gliding across the sky, Vegapunk says that 25 years ago, the pirate Gold D. Roger, he says his name properly, achieved the unprecedented by circumnavigating the globe. I have no doubt they heard the whole thing. I am confident you all have come to the same conclusion at this point, and I anticipate that this what will ultimately determine how things transpire in the future. He also says that the Roger pirates heard the true nature of the history of their world from the purest source at Laugh-Tale. As he's saying this, Emmeth comes to the conclusion that he is rusted and busted, but seeing as how this is the time that Joy Boy spoke of, he could use it. Now, what it is, we don't know. We also see that York is elated that she's finally the last Vegapunk in the world because she detects that Alice's signal is gone. And we see too that zuro did not take any damage really from that explosion, because even though half his face is blown off, he's reforming himself. So, I mean, it's weird too, because even though he can regenerate, it just doesn't seem like that did a whole lot. It stopped him for the time being, but yeah, it's weird. Of course, we see that all of them can regenerate before, but it's just weird that not even that did enough to put him on his back. It stopped him from chasing them, which I guess was the whole goal. But what's interesting too is that we see like a crackle sound effect as he's reforming himself. So this looks like it's being done in the same way that Saturn started to regenerate when Kuma punched him a while back. So now Warcree and Jupiter are going after Emmeth to end the broadcast once and for all. And the final shot of the chapter is, I guess this is flashing to Impel Down. And then this, I guess, is to just give us a inkling of how the world is reacting to it. We'll probably see more in 1121. But the prisoners say, what was that? Did he say Gold D? So yeah, the world is reacting to Roger's name being said correctly for the first time in history. So no break next week, which is great. And we're going to get a color spread for the anniversary of One Piece next week. So that's cool. Can't wait to see it. Not a lot happened this chapter. It's one of those weird in-between chapters, which the rounded number chapters are kind of always this way. And then it's always the first chapter afterward in which things pop off. So this isn't too surprising that 1120 is kind of lukewarm, because it's only setting up for a bigger payoff in 1121. And that's how it's been for a very long time in the series. So not surprised, but I am anticipating the next chapter, especially seeing as how there's no break next week, which thank goodness there's not. But for real though, that's all I have for you today. Give me your thoughts. Check out those Vegapunk videos. Thank you for watching.